Hello, Ben. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
Hey, very well, thank you. Very well.
All right, well, let's go ahead and dive right in. Tell me about your business, The Missing Letter.
So, missing letter is, I suppose, one very short way of describing it is
Okay.
it's buffer on steroids,
Okay.
or it's buffer without the requirement to turn up as a human and form healthy habits.
Okay.
Um, because I don't know about you, but I have a buffer account and I constantly forget to turn up because it's dependent on me as a human to remember to write something new and to keep it topped up. But that doesn't tell you anything about what missing letter does, so I probably should answer that. What we basically do is we turn our customers' blog posts into social media campaigns.
Wow.
So we literally are monitoring your blog post, and when you next click publish on WordPress or whatever the platform might be, we run some clever technology over your content, and what we're looking for is interesting phrases and quotes, and we're recommending some hashtags. We'll extract some images that you've put in there, and we'll also create some branded quote style images using your own content as well. So we create a whole sort of stack, if you will, of media assets that we then turn into a 12-month drip marketing campaign. And that all happens within a matter of minutes. So you get an email. The next you hear from us is an email, and it's inviting you to review the campaign that we've just created. You cycle through, make sure you're happy with it, make some minor edits, click go, and bam, we're now going to market it to your social accounts over the next 12 months. And it's all there to drive traffic back to your website and to help you engage with your audience. So that's kind of it does the bit before buffer. So buffer
Right.
schedules your content and then it distributes it. We do the bit before that as well as
Okay.
scheduling and distributing it. We create the content for you, schedule it, and then send it out.
This sounds fantastic. All right, well, you kind of explained it a little bit, but let's go ahead and just gotta knock it out very clearly. What is a
Cool.
specific problem that you solve for the people that you serve?
So I touched on it a second ago, and it's often cases one of two things: either
Okay.
the habit aspect,
Right.
and we just forget to do things. We know. I mean, most marketing is common sense. I mean, if you ask anyone for some good marketing advice, you'll probably walk away thinking, "Well, that's obvious. I mean, I kind of knew I should be doing that," but we forget to turn up and carry on and consistently do these things. So one of the problems it solves is that we have a bunch of our customers who just are terrible at remembering to consistently market their blog post and to
Right.
turn up on their social media channels. So we solve that. And then you've got the other category who, might well be good at it and know they need to be doing it, but either don't have the time or don't have the money to pay someone else to do that. So we save a lot of time and a lot of money for people who might otherwise be paying a VA or an agency to do this stuff for them. And it really just helps them get back to doing what their core business is all about,
For
whatever that
sure.
might be.
For sure. And I imagine that, social media is something that businesses all over the place are really diving into. They know it's something that they want to make sure that they're having a presence on. So, what do you do to create a remarkable customer experience for people in that automated type of format where it's kind of a low touch seemingly environment? How do you sort of connect the dots there, and how do you envision that?
It's a good question because it's something that really was the nucleus for the whole idea, really, because we wanted to, from the very first go, we wanted to delight our customers. And as soon as you start, I mean, ultimately, what our business is a marketing automation tool, and that sounds it's very sort of production line, very sort of very systemized. And
Right.
the danger of with automated processes like that is that you remove that enjoyment, that wow sort of aspect, and that human touch fundamentally. And we absolutely wanted to avoid that. We wanted people to feel connected. And something we have that's very powerful with Missing LettR is that we're using our customers' own content. So we're not
Right.
manufacturing something out of dust. We are taking content that you've hopefully labored on and thought about really carefully, and we're just sprucing it up and sexing it up, if you will. So how we delight our customers is right from the word go. Within a few minutes of them publishing their blog post, one of the first things they see is an email from us with a beautifully designed quote bubble, almost speech bubble, if you will, with their
Right.
face on there, with their name and their brand as they've told us they want it to look, and an extract from their content. And we still today hear people saying this is wowed that they sort of seeing their content repurposed in a way that just looks engaging without them having to have done anything. And that's something that carries through the whole experience.
Yeah, I imagine I'm wild just listening to you. I'm like, I got to go see this thing. So excited to do that once we finish. Now, you mentioned like you created this system. It's automated. It's a digital product. Like you said, it's not that human sort of touch. Did you have to work? What was your process like to create this sort of environment that makes your digital product deliver the experience that you want? Because your digital product does what you tell it to do, right? But imagine you're not the person who is doing all of the coding. You probably got your vision for what you want your customers to experience, and then you've got the people who are, making your product actually come to life. So how do you translate your vision and that feeling that you want to convey, that delight, that excitement, into actually the end product? Because I know a lot of times people have the idea, but they kind of fall short when it comes time to actually figuring out how to execute it and actually deliver that feeling.
Well, I've done plenty of that, I can promise you. Hopefully I'm getting better at doing it less often. But for me, it comes down to two things. One, get as close to your customer as you possibly can throughout. It's not something that you just do as a novelty because people have told you to do it in the first few days. It's something that should stick with you throughout the growth of your company, no matter how big you are. You want to stay as close as you can, because that's the only real way that you can create that real, as you sort of were talking about, sort of touch point and sort of life, I suppose, despite the fact that it's a digital product that could very easily feel very cold and very sort of disconnected from the customer. So stay as close to them as you can. And then back to your point about ideas, and it's very easy to sort of not execute on them. I think it's great to have wonderfully brilliant, exuberant ideas, but you've got to get good at breaking them down into chunks.
Okay.
Cut up that elephant to fit it into a suitcase, or whatever that analogy is. I've probably bastardized. But if you can get good at delivering sort of micro deliveries, if you will, in a way that your customer is kept in the loop. So, for example, we like to deliver something, if we can, once a week, at least one or two things a week.
Okay.
A mixture of bug fixes as well as new features and new ideas. And we will always let our customers know. So if a customer's come to us on a Thursday and said, I've got this bug, or I've got a new idea for a feature, we'll make a note of that. And when we maybe a week or 2 weeks later deliver that, we'll loop back to them and let them know, as well as obviously broadcasting it to the rest of our users. So the idea of delivering frequently and keeping the customer very, very close is integral.
Got it. Now, I am in complete agreement about making sure that you are in constant communication with your customer and developing that degree of intimacy with them, so that you know what it is that they need. What does that look like for you in your company? So
when I hear the word intimacy, I kind of just think I translate that to being human, quite frankly. And I think it's very, very easy, particularly in a digital product where you don't have a physical store or a real sort of touch point with the customer, just to think having the product that people are using is good enough. No, you need to have those daily, monthly, whatever those other touch points are with the customers. And as long as you do it it's really simple. As long as you do it, as far as I'm concerned anyway, as long as you do it in a human way, in a way that makes you, puts your vulnerable side across, and you don't put a, so for example, we use Intercom, and it's another automated tool for our communications. But whenever I sign it off, I always start the communication with Ben here from Missing LettR, and I always sign it off with my name as well, my first name, no surname. And I'd sort of say, look, I check and read every email, pop a reply, and I'll get back to you. And the picture I have is me with my dog. Now, it's just stupid little things like that, but it's there throughout. It's not just a novelty. But when our customers engage with me and anyone else from my team, they pick up on that throughout the whole experience, and it delivers that intimacy that I think keeps our customers with us.
Now, does that intimacy sort of it's a connectivity, because what you described is really a connectivity both with your product but also with you, the maker of your product. So it's not just the missing letter, it's Ben and the team and everyone else, which, I think you said it makes it a little bit more personal.
Yeah, now whether that scales or not is another thing. Does it scale for me to be, I don't send out all the emails, of course, but does it scale for me to be fronting the ones that I do and for me to be replying to them all? I don't know. But what I can tell you today is I get a kick out of speaking with my customers firsthand and hearing them,
Right.
when they reply and think that it's just going out into the ether, and then almost immediately they get a reply. It's great. I'm delighting them, and it's fun, and
Yeah.
we learn something from it, which is cool.
So how do you take what they're telling you and prioritize that into those updates that you're going to be delivering? Because I'm assuming that they're not always telling you exactly what it is that they want. Like they're saying it in a different way than they're not saying, I need you to do X, Y, Z specifically. You kind of have to read between the lines sometimes. So how do you go about doing that?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm going to sound like I'm contradicting my previous points a teeny bit. Yes, you need to keep your customers close to you, but equally, you need to know how to keep a bit of distance as well, because at the end of the day, you have to feel confident in the vision that you're trying to deliver here, and have a bit of an instinct and a gut instinct on what you're trying to achieve. Because as you say, you might have 10 customers telling you, you might ask 10 customers the same thing and they'll give you all different answers, or ask one person for some feedback and they'll tell you it in a way that maybe isn't quite telling you exactly what they're feeling, or maybe is, but maybe they're emphasizing it in the wrong way. So I think it does take it takes a bit of experience, I think, and it's taken me a while to learn to listen, but know when to sort of cut that off and roll on your instincts.
Got it.
Because otherwise you just fall into this trap of just delivering feature after feature that people are asking for, and with the best intentions of the world, customers don't always know the right, what's best for the company as a whole. They might know what's right for their own little silo.
Right.
But that could completely bring everything down crumbling if you're not careful.
Yeah. Now, what would you say has been the biggest barrier that you've experienced that has limited your ability to consistently deliver a remarkable experience for your customers, and how have you worked on that or overcome it?
So that's an easy one. It's a technical one. We obviously connect with or send out content to Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Google Plus, and almost Pinterest. We just were rolling out the beta, and we've had some. We're sorted now, but we had some horrible issues with Facebook, where we have 10,000 plus users at the moment, and it's not a massive number, but it's a healthy number, and that's a lot of content being sent out to these social networks every day. And what you don't want in that situation, where your product is all lives and dies on content being delivered. I mean, when it all comes down to it, people want their content delivered. You don't want to wake up on a Monday morning with an automated email like that, with a no reply from Facebook saying, we've detected that you're using our API in slightly the wrong way. We're going to shut you off. Click here to appeal it. Now, it's not a ban or anything. It's just we're going to turn it off until you've rectified the thing. But no warning, no sort of we're going to turn it off tomorrow, and no way to properly reply. Anyway, we're all perfect now, and I've got a contact there, and they actually realised they were looking at what we were doing in a slightly wrong way. But yeah, I mean, it's things like that. It goes to show how it doesn't matter how great these touch points are with the customer and how great the idea is, and there are fragile points in every business, and you can do a bit of risk management, but sometimes the shit hits the fan sometimes, and you've got to. There's very little you can do sometimes. So it takes patience and a bit of control and perseverance, I think.
Now, I imagine, so you brought up another good point. Like, there's delivering your customer experience, but you can't do it 100% by yourself. You've got to have these partners. So how, given that experience, like you said, I'm glad that you've been able to fix it. Have you had to put parameters or specific areas in your business to help make sure that you grease the skids or whatever with your partners and maintain that relationship so that they assist you in your mission versus sort of hindering you in any sort of way? Because things like this can pop up all the time because they change their rules.
For sure, yeah. I mean, it takes a bit of common sense and also a bit of slowing down. So I love this idea of releasing things frequently, but when it comes to things like that, when you're maybe tweaking a feature or the way that you interact with a partner like Facebook's API or whatever it might be, you've got to learn a bit of self-control, which I don't know whether I'm there yet, but you've got to learn to just think about what you're doing and engage with the customer, make sure it's right for them, engage with the partner. It takes a bit more time and a bit more thought, but the worst thing is not knowing what those risk points are. Once you know them, you can it's fairly easy to sort of work around them. And my team, they know that if anything like this happens again, if we suddenly get an email from a partner saying we need you to fix this or that, then these are the sorts of things that need to be jumped on like immediately, because they have such a huge impact on everything that we do.
Got it. Now, I know a lot of your customers have the same core problem, and you described it in one of two ways. But as you think about customers around the world, they're increasingly becoming more and more diverse in terms of their backgrounds, their experiences, the way they view the world, the way they experience the world. So have you had to adjust the way you operate your business or approach these different customer groups to be able to accommodate that? Or does it differ for you because you're targeting people with a specific need?
It's probably, to be fair, more of the latter. But I do think I'm trying to do as much as we can organically, I think, and not too rushed to do more of what you're talking about, because in many ways there isn't any. I mean, it depends. I mean, I don't think that there's a limit. Certainly, I don't. Right. I mean, you can take it so far and say, well, we're gonna send this email to people with blue eyes and this email to people with green eyes. I mean, there are limits, of course, but I think it's fairly easy for us to do things like that and be a bit more thoughtful about how we target certain communications and certain experiences, because in essence we do have that data available to a certain extent. Now, we already send specific emails and different promotions and different things to different segments of users, but that's not necessarily based on their sort of backgrounds or their position in the job and that sort of thing. So there's a lot more we can do. I mean, one example, we did a deal for we're based in the UK, but we are still aware of the notion of Black Friday, and it's kind of trickled through to the UK in the last few years, so we know what it's all about. And as any good business owner, I want to sort of capitalize on the opportunity that holds, and we wanted to offer a deal to our customers. So we sent out an email to all our customers sort of Black Friday last year, so a few months ago, and we had some good reception of it. But we had one lady from Australia who was really frustrated and annoyed because she had no idea what Black Friday was, and was frustrated that it was put upon her to look it up on Google and find out what it was. And it's a fair point. And whilst it's completely impractical for us to because we have customers across close to 100 countries, and it doesn't make sense that we would look at every single country to make sure that any language they're using is familiar in that country, and yet you can kind of see where she's coming from. So it's an interesting topic, because you can never reach perfection, I'm pretty sure. And if to reach perfection, you'd probably need to know so much about that person that you'd be invading their privacy. To really know, what day do they get their hair cut, all silly little things. So it's an interesting one.
Yeah, no, but I like how you're thinking of it, and that was a great example in terms of, like she didn't know who that was, and sometimes some things that are so simple we take for granted that everybody might know this or everybody celebrates this, but there is a degree of carefulness that you have to have, but it doesn't always mean that you're not always going to get it right. But as long as you're trying, it makes a big impact.
Yeah, unfortunately, putting stuff out there and actually just delivering things, whether it's an email or a business or a product or an idea, whatever it is, you're never ever going to please everyone. And I mean, that's sometimes the things you can do to fix it next time, but ultimately you're going to upset people sometimes.
For sure. Now, what do you do to cultivate a high-performing team that enables you to solve your customers' problem and delight most of your customers most of the time? Like you said, you can't do everybody all the time, but how do you cultivate a team that it allows you to be able to do that? Because like you said, as you start to scale, it'll become more important.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so we're a smallish team at the moment. There's 4 of us at the moment, so we are not yet at that point where, we have the complexities of scaling a large team, and real complexities will drop in there. But without sounding like a broken record, the way I do what you're just talking about there is really just to make sure that the customers are not just close to me as the business owner, but are as close to the day-to-day life that my team play out as well, so that that not just the customer support person knows what the customers are saying, but they share that with my team in the Slack channels and vice versa. So there's never a sense of someone being completely safe and cocooned in their own little world and able to just get on with something without repercussions. That we all know together what the business is doing, what the risks are. When something goes terribly wrong with a customer, we all know about it and we feel that pain, and sort of heightens our alertness and our desire to sort of improve next time, and it sort of keeps us all responsible for our own actions in many ways. And whether that scales, we'll see. But that's kind of the principle.
Got it. And how do you go about? Because you mentioned before that you can't always you want to listen to your customer and know what it is that they want from you, but you also have your own lens in terms of, what is the vision for the company, where the market is doing. How do you tend to balance that with you and your team and making sure that you're both forward looking and sort of balancing that with your customer, with what's going on in the market?
Well, it's simple. I'm king. My team. No, I'm joking. I guess it takes experience and just making mistakes along the way, because I quite pig-eared when it comes to an idea, and I think I know best, and I've got but I'm learning slowly to sort of take on advice from other people and just play a slightly different game. But it's difficult. I mean, it's something that I think it helps to discuss with your team. Mm-hmm. So not just dictate what you're going to do, whether it's fed from a customer or not, but actually involve the team so that they can be part of that story at the very, very least, and that motivation.
Right. And what is your approach to failure? Because like you said, it comes from experience, but experience brings with it a lot of failure. So how do you all as a team approach that in your business? So
the way to approach failure is just to accept it, I think, and to start failing, quite frankly. So again, we deliver quite frequently new features and new products, and you could argue, and maybe we will have to do this when we're at scale, that we will have to slow down our cycle, and maybe sort of once a month we do it, because we then have a team testing and this person doing that. But right here and now, we're such a smaller team that we were able to deliver much quicker, and the downside of that is that we fail a lot more frequently. Okay. So we will deliver something that we think is perfect, and sometimes we've done something in the wrong way and we have to sort of rethink. And we deal with that by just sort of analyzing what that failure actually means, because failure is so nuanced. It's not black and white. It doesn't literally mean that was a total failure. It just means an aspect of it was not so perfect. Right. So kind of part of the challenge is kind of working out which part of that thing that you in theory got wrong was actually wrong, because it might be that the idea was great and the execution was great, but maybe the follow-up was terrible, or the timing was off. And that just takes, again, engaging with the team and kind of trying to unravel it all.
Very good.
Get good at failing. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely, it's the name of the game. What would you say are your 3 keys to business success?
I had to write this down when I saw this as a potential question before, because if you ask me on a given day, I'll probably give you 3 totally different things. I thought, just take the time. Let's just think of something that doesn't sound like it's completely tripe and made up. So, but these are things I think that I hold quite true to me. One is trust your instincts, and these are things we've spoken about for the last half an hour or so. Trust your instincts, because you can't depend upon someone else's. You might have some great advice from someone, but at the end of the day, you've got to roll on your instincts. And that sort of filters into the second point, which is get really good at listening, but know when to then roll with your instinct and actually follow through, because sure. You can listen to your mentor, you can listen to your mastermind, your teammates, your customers, but you've got to think about, as Steve Jobs would call it, where's that puck going to be, not right. Where is it now. Right. And then finally, great ideas only matter if you can actually deliver them, and if you're not good at delivering them, maybe just break them down into smaller chunks, but make sure you deliver. Give yourself something. So I famously in the house eat lunch at whatever time. I don't have a fixed point, because if I've set myself a target to do in the day, or in the morning I should say, I won't stop for lunch until that thing is done, because I just find it's horrible to leave something just unfinished. Now that's just me being a bit extreme maybe, but at least finish it by the end of the day, or have a deadline by the end of the week. Get good at finishing stuff. Because there's too many people in this world who have great ideas and just are terrible at seeing them through.
Very true, very true. Ben, this has been great. Any parting words of wisdom for businesses who want to consistently deliver remarkable customer experiences for the people they're serving?
So what I would just do is I would just retweak some of the stuff we've already spoken about around the customer and just give you a different perspective, a different way of thinking about it. And this, I have to confess, is stolen from a guy called David Cancel, ex-guy from HubSpot, guy who runs Drift now. Really, really interesting guy. And he constantly talks about this idea that decisions you make should be customer focused, not company focused. Okay. That sounds, and what that means is, don't just optimize something because it benefits you as a company. So I had a team member a few days ago who was just doing a proof of work for a feature and gave it to me to review. It was nowhere near ready for production line, but that's not the point. And I asked him, well, why did you do it in that way? And he goes, well, it was the quickest thing to do, and that's the way we store the data in the back end, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And I said, well, how is a customer going to understand what that means, and how are we going to lead them through that process? Just having that form on the page is optimizing it for us as a business. Right, it's the quickest way, it's most effective, it's easier to maintain, but that's terrible for the customer. So ask yourself at the end of each day or at the end of each sort of strategic meeting, have we made those decisions for the benefit of the customer and the market and everything else, or have we done it just simply to optimize the company and our bias and everything else? I find that really helpful to think about sometimes.
For sure it is. And where can people find you if they want to learn more about this great product?
So Missing Letter can be found at missingletter.com. And as the title would suggest, there is a missing letter from the title, Missing Letter, just to confuse things. And this sounded like a great idea when I came up with the name a couple of years ago, but the fact that I had to explain it every time maybe proves that it's not. But the E from letter at the end is missing. So it's missing, MISSING, then letter, LETTR.com. We have actually since acquired Missing Letter, the full spelling, but that will just redirect you. If you're lazy, that will redirect you to the main spelling, missingletter.com. And then I can be found at Twitter, although I need to get more active on it, at Ben Dell, BENDELL.
Sweet, and I'll have all that info in the show notes so people can contact you and reach out to you. All right, well, before I let you go, I do have one other question just to jump inside your mind a little bit more. And that's to deliver a line from a movie that speaks to you and explain why you chose that one.
So I definitely had to research this one because my wife is always telling me off for what I think are really, really good impersonations of certain things from certain movies. And the reality is, and my wife is, well, I was going to say almost always, she is always right. I'm terrible at these things. So I'm not going to be clever. It's one of my favorite films is Shawshank Redemption. And there's a quote in there, get busy living or get busy dying.
Yep. Why did you choose that one?
It's short, it's simple. It's binary. You're either doing it or you're not. And you've got to get up and out and then do something, whether it's delivering that thing. It's not good enough just to think about doing that thing. You've actually got to do that thing. And they don't skirt around the subject and sort of describe what living means and think about standing up or not sitting down on your sofa too often. They just say live. And it's just, and you can translate that into anything you might do. Run a business, go out and learn to run a marathon. Whatever it might be, get up and do it. There's no excuse.
Love it, and I love that movie. Great movie, great line,
I know, it's
great anecdote. Ben, again, this has been fantastic. Thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.